putting off this month's video story because my mind is overwhelmed with this pandemic and the need to self-isolate. Then this morning, I got some fabulous news from the folks that run the contest for the Stephen Leacock Medal of Humor. Of the 84 submissions they received this year, my second book, Cafe Conversations, has made the top 11. This is a huge accomplishment for me, and I am outrageously excited about it. So I'm going to read you a story from that book. You've heard 2 stories from the book previously. Disability was written for my YouTube channel, but when I realized it was set in a coffee shop, it found its way into the book. Blind Date number 3 was written for the book and was shared on YouTube when Cafe Conversations was being released. So here's a third bite from Cafe Conversations. The first line in this story, I actually overheard in one of my favorite local coffee shops. Enjoy.
Mummy said you are particular.
The child broke off a large bite of her pastry and forked it into her mouth. She continued speaking as she chewed.
Madison's grandmother let her cut her hair and dye it bright pink, like an anime character. I like candy-colored hair.
She maintained eye contact as she took a gulp of chocolate milk. Being particular is another way of saying that someone has standards. The grandmother drank Earl Grey neat. An oatmeal cookie sat on a floral plate. Standards are what distinguish individuals from the masses. It demonstrates an enlightened level of civility.
What's civility?
Good manners.
We learn manners at school. Mrs. Pedersen showed us how to introduce people. She tried to teach us to make cocktail party conversation, but I told her, I'm only 11 years old. I'm not allowed to drink cocktails.
That's just a term for polite chit-chat, sweetie. It has nothing to do with the consumption of alcoholic drinks. Being able to engage in a conversation with people that you have just met is a skill that can be practiced. That's why your grandfather and I arranged for you to attend the Weston Abbey Academy. Other schools overlook such vital skills. The child sniffed and wiped her nose on the sleeve of her burgundy school sweater. She took a bite of pastry that resulted in a smear of cream in the corner of her mouth. The grandmother took a sip of tea. Are you still taking dance lessons with Miss Nicky? She resisted reaching across the table to wipe away the offensive smear.
Nah, I don't like ballroom dancing. Boys are creepy.
But you and Jeremy Fletcher won the trophy last year. Your gown was so beautiful.
I'm taking hip-hop now. We dance like girls in music videos.
The child grinned, flashing the white smear.
We wear stretchy tights and crop tops. We look hot.
Honey, take your napkin and wipe the corner of your mouth. No, the other side. That's it. Much better. The pair sat in silence while Maroon 5 sang Girls Like You through the speakers above their heads. The child broke the hush.
Mummy said you'd send us to Disneyland this Christmas.
Did she? The grandmother raised one professionally sculpted eyebrow. Does your father want to go to Disneyland? This was her son's child.
Daddy doesn't go on trips with us.
Her last bite of pastry was consumed, and she wiped her sticky fingertips on the front of her sweater.
He likes to do business trips by himself. Mummy and I take the fun trips.
While observing her granddaughter over her mug's rim, the grandmother sipped the now tepid tea. The child had long, straight, silky hair, so blonde it was almost white and pulled into a perky ponytail at the back of her head. She had the habit of tilting her head and smirking when she said something provocative, a miniature version of the daughter-in-law.
I think Disneyland is wonderful. You should come with us, Grandmother.
She licked her fingertip and began tapping it on her plate to pick up crumbs. Oh, I'm too old for Disneyland, darling. The grandmother leaned toward the child. Are you sure that's where you want to go? She paused until the child looked up. I was thinking that a trip to Paris might be nice.
You mean Paris, France, Grandmother?
Yes, exactly. It's a wonderful city. We could go to the Louvre Museum and see all the famous paintings and sculptures. We could take a boat ride down that river and view the city from the top of the Eiffel Tower.
I'm learning French at school. Parlez-vous français, Grand-mère?
I only know a few French words, honey, but I find that everyone in Europe speaks English, so it's not a problem. The child chewed the cuticle of her right index finger. The shops in Paris have beautiful clothes for little girls. We'd have to travel overnight on an airplane. We'd eat dinner, watch a movie, and then our seats would fold right down into beds.
Really?
Oh, yes, it's very elegant. But it's a much more expensive trip than Disneyland. The child placed her hand on the old woman's knee.
Is it too expensive, Grandmother?
Well, I don't know if we'd be able to take Mummy along. It might have to be just the two of us.
Oh, please, please, I'd love to go to Paris, Grandmother.
Are you a big enough girl to travel without Mummy?
Oh, yes, Mummy says she likes a break from me.
Well, finish your milk, Pumpkin. We'll collect some brochures and make a plan. The grandmother drained her teacup and left the cookie untouched. As she stood and tucked in her chair, she said, I hope you don't mind if it means missing school. Once again, I am grateful for all of you who are following these video stories. I appreciate your support, and I'm glad I can make you smile. As usual, the images used here are from 123RF, and the music is courtesy of Ben Sound. Say a little prayer that Cafe Conversations makes the next cut at the Leacock Award. They will identify their 3 favorites on May 1st, 2020. Stay well.